One of the most important things in cost and management accounting is cost estimation. Now, for every product or service that is delivered to a customer, there is cost associated with that product or service. Today, we are going to look at cost estimation using the high and low method. Now, the high and low method is one method that is used in cost estimation apart from the linear regression method. The high and low method of cost estimation relies on two key assumptions. Now, the first assumption is that fixed costs are the same in total at each level of activity. Now, the second assumption is that the variable cost per unit is constant at both levels of activity. The variable cost per unit is constant at both, and I'll explain both levels of activity. So if these two assumptions hold, then we can use the high and low method of cost estimation. When we say both, both, now this one is referring to the highest level and the lowest level of activity. So if you look at this question on the left, you realize that we have 4 months, January to April, and the level of activity, which is the direct labor hours, has different figures for each of the month. Now, the total cost too has different figures for each of the month, January to April. Now, we are using the highest and the lowest method. So the highest here is looking at what is the highest activity level. Looking at glancing through these numbers, what is the highest activity level? And what is the lowest activity level? So the highest activity level is 1 point, and the lowest activity level is another point. That is what I refer to as both the highest and the lowest activity levels. Great. Now, cost and loan method is very simple and easy. It's very simple and easy to make. The first thing that you have to look at is look at the activity level and the cost associated with it. So we will look at the activity level, that is the direct labor hours. We have four figures for January to April. Then we have total cost from January to April. Now we glance through these numbers and see which one is the highest, right? And which one is the lowest. Now looking at here, we have 5,800, 7,700, 8,200, and 6,100. Obviously, you will see that 8,200 for the month of March is the highest. So we look at activity, which is labor hours. Then we look at the total cost, which is in dollars. So here will be the month. Okay. So for the month of March, we have an highest activities, which is 8,200 hours, labor hours, and the associated cost is 48,700. So write 48,700. Great. Now let's look at the lowest activity level. The lowest activity level when it glance through is 5,800 hours for the month of January. Okay, so we write 5,800 hours, and the associated cost is 40,300. $40,300. Great. Having established this, we have to look at now. We have to look at what is the cost per unit. What is the variable cost per unit? Now, the highest value here will take the lowest from the highest. So when we underline this and that, we have 5,200 minus 8,200 minus minus 5,800. 8,200 minus 5,800, giving us 2,400 hours. Now, this 2,400 hours should also be associated with cost. So we subtract 40,300 from 48,700. So 4,300, and that is going to give us 8,400 US dollars. Now, we divide the 8,400 US dollars by the 2,400. So that is going to give us the variable cost per unit. So the variable cost per hour. So this is going to be 8,400 US dollars divided by 2,400 hours. And this is going to give us $3.5 per hour. Now, having established the variable cost, I I did not state something clearly here. Let's go and let me state it. Now, before any organization can get the total cost of a product, it needs to add the variable cost, the variable cost, and the fixed cost. Okay, so if you add the variable cost and the fixed cost, you are going to get the total cost. Now we want to ascertain the cost of the estimate the total cost of anything that we are doing, any activity or any product. So in order to estimate the total cost, we need to get the variable cost and the fixed cost. Now, in this calculation, we've been able to calculate the variable cost per hour based on the cost and the hours associated with, uh, based on the total cost and the total activity level. Now, how can we find the fixed cost? How can we find the fixed cost? Having ascertained the variable cost. Now, in order to ascertain the the fixed cost, you can pick any of these values, and estimate. Now, we know that the variable cost per unit is 3.5. Now, having estimated that the total cost is the addition of the variable cost per unit and the fixed cost, we can write an equation. And a simple equation will be, if we want to find the fixed cost, then we can transfer this to this place and have total cost. So fixed cost is equals to total cost minus total variable cost, right? So if we can have this equation, then we can find the fixed cost. So the fixed cost is your total cost minus the total variable cost. Great. Now, what is the total cost at any of them? So let's use the month of March. So your fixed cost is going to be 48,800, 48,700, sorry, 700 minus your total variable cost. So your total variable cost here is going to be 8,200, which is the activity level. 8,200 times your $3.5 per hour. Now, what this means is that if you have 48,700 minus 8,200 times 3.5, we are going to get 20,000 US dollars. So the fixed cost per unit, or the fixed cost for the period, is 20,000. So now let's go to the question and solve it. Okay, but before we go to the question, let's try and write an equation just like how we wrote this. So the total cost associated, so the equation is equal to, so we are going to write an equation here for the cost function. So here the total cost is going to be 48,000 is going to be 48,700, right? Which is the total cost. Sorry, let me write it well. So the total cost is equal to the fixed cost plus the variable cost. So this one, the fixed cost is 20,000 plus 3.5 US dollars per hour times total labor hours. Because in the question it says labor hours. So this is the total cost equation. Total cost equation. Great. Now, let's go to the question. Using high and low analysis, prepare an estimate of total cost if output is expected to be 7,000 direct labor hours. Now we've already achieved this equation. You know that our total cost is 20,000 plus 3.5 labor hours. Now, the labor hours given in the question is 7,000, right? Okay, so if the labor hours given in the question is 7,000, then what will be our total cost? Total cost will be 20,000 plus 3.5 times, let's put this into times 7,000 hours. And so this one is going to give us 20,000 plus 3.5 times 7,000. And that will be 44,500 US dollars. So that is the high and low method of cost estimation. If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. so that you can have access to our video when we upload new videos. Thank you.